So you must have heard about the recent panic around H1B visas. It is all over the news. US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order and it is causing a huge stir. Why? Because he wants to impose a massive application fee of $100,000 for H1B visas. Now you might be wondering what exactly is going on here. Why is the US doing this? And more importantly, what impact will it have on foreign workers, including from India? So let us break it down step by step. First, let us understand the why. Trump's idea is pretty straightforward. He wants American companies to hire more Americans. His argument is that too many jobs are going to foreigners through the H1B program, while many Americans are struggling with unemployment. So his policy is designed to make companies think twice before relying too heavily on foreign workers. H1B visa, as we know, is a special type of work visa. It allows US companies to hire skilled foreign professionals in fields like technology, engineering, medicine, finance, etc. Basically, if someone has specialized knowledge, the H1B gives them a way to work in America. The visa is valid for 3 years and can be extended for another 3. Over the years, this system has brought in some of the brightest minds from across the globe, especially from countries like India and China. And that is a big reason why many US companies, particularly in tech, have become world leaders. The H1B has fueled innovation, strengthened competitiveness, and boosted growth in America. But then there is the other side of the coin. If American companies are hiring a lot of foreigners, then fewer opportunities are left for American workers. Many people in the US feel that the H1B program actually displaces them from jobs. The companies are profit-driven, so naturally they will go after the best global talent, not just whoever's available locally. And that often means more jobs for Indians, Chinese and others. So many Americans feel left out. This is where Trump enters with his America First policy. He doesn't want to shut down the H1B program completely because he is aware that the US still needs highly skilled professionals. But he wants to stop what he sees as an overuse of the system. His broader immigration reforms are aimed at protecting American workers, and raising the visa fee is one way to do that. Now here is the catch. The fee hike isn't small, it is massive. We are talking about a 20-fold increase from the regular fee to $100,000 per application. That is huge. So the big questions are, how will this work in practice? Will companies still be willing to pay that much to hire foreign workers? Or will they start cutting down on H1B hires and focus on local talent instead? And what does all this mean for foreign workers, especially the thousands of Indians and Chinese who dream of working in the US? That is what we need to explore next, the consequences of this big move. But to really understand what is happening with this H1B issue, we first need to know how the H1B system actually works. Now here is something important. Foreign workers cannot just apply for an H1B visa on their own. They need a US company to sponsor them. That company has to file a petition with the US Citizenship and Immigration Services, what we call the USCIS in short. Along with that, they must submit all the supporting documents like the details about the job, the workers' qualifications, and so on. And there is a cap. Every year, only 85,000 H1B visas are available, and the demand is way higher. More people apply than there are visas. So how does the US government handle this? With a lottery system. All the eligible applications are thrown into a random draw, and only the selected ones move forward. That is why the process is super competitive. If you are lucky enough to get picked, then you can apply for the actual visa. Workers can also bring their family along, spouses and children under 21, through something called an H4 visa. But remember, the H1B visa is tied directly to the employer. The companies, not the workers, pay all the filing fees for these visas. Now Trump's executive order increases the application fee to a jaw-dropping $100,000. Think about that for a second. Imagine a company wanting to hire 10 foreign workers. Suddenly, they'd have to spend $1 million just on visa applications. So what will companies do? Most will simply back off. They will try to avoid sponsoring foreign workers altogether because the cost is just too high. Instead, they will start looking to hire more Americans. Only the biggest companies like Google, Microsoft, Amazon might be able to absorb such costs. But even they won't do it for everyone. They'll likely reserve the H1B sponsorship only for the most irreplaceable talent, the absolute best of the best. What about entry-level or mid-level foreign professionals? They'll probably be left out. As a result, the number of H1B petitions will drop drastically. companies will be willing to only pay this massive amount for top tier candidates. For the rest, they might either hire domestically or even outsource jobs to other countries. So think about the impact on foreign workers. Fewer opportunities, more competition. Salaries might even be lowered because companies will try to offset these huge costs. That will make the US far less attractive as a destination for skilled professionals. And this doesn't just affect workers, it affects their families too. Dependents on H4 visas could face disruptions. Some families may even get separated if workers lose sponsorship. That is a humanitarian concern we cannot ignore. In the bigger picture, this policy could push skilled workers to look elsewhere. Canada, Australia, the European Union, etc. Places with more welcoming visa systems. Over time, that could slow down US innovation. Because let us face it, America's edge has always come from attracting global talent. So in the long term, this fee hike might actually backfire. Instead of protecting American jobs, it could hurt US companies and make the country less competitive. That is why many are calling it another self-goal by the Trump administration. And just like many of Trump's controversial policies, this one too is likely to face legal challenges. It is a fact that Trump is pretty kind to rich people, and immigration policy is no different. If you are a wealthy immigrant and can shell out $1 million, you can actually fast-track your visa. This shortcut is being called the Immigration Golden Card. Here is how it works. If a foreigner pays $1 million, their visa process gets expedited. And if a company wants to speed things up for a foreign workers it sponsors, it can do so by paying $2 million. So the message is clear. The rich and wealthy are welcome with open arms in America. This, of course, is part of the Trump administration's broader attempt to crack down on immigration. He wants to sharply limit the types of foreigners allowed into the country. Under Trump, the US doesn't want the so-called bottom quartile of workers. It only wants extraordinary people, the top tier talent. But here is the problem. The administration isn't acknowledging how crucial the H1B program has been for America's rise. Think about it. How did companies like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, Tesla, etc. become so dominant? It cannot be denied that a huge part of their success comes from foreign talent. Skilled workers from across the globe help these companies grow, innovate, and ultimately boost the US economy. That's the bigger picture, but unfortunately, it is being overlooked in favor of short-term political gains. Not to forget, there was also confusion about the visa fee itself. At first, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said the $100,000 fee would be charged every year, but later the White House clarified that it would be a one-time fee, not annual. Still, it is a steep barrier for most companies. And just like many issues under Trump, his stance on H1B visas has fluctuated. Sometimes he comes down hard, sometimes he softens. But overall, the trend is consistent, restricting access to foreign worker visas. He already did this in his first term, so it is not really a surprise. Interestingly, Trump's former ally Elon Musk once defended the H1B program very strongly. Back then, Musk argued that America must protect this program. But his defense drew heavy criticism from Trump's MAGA loyalists, who wanted tighter immigration rules. Remembering this, today Musk is silent on the issue. We can understand. Priorities shift with time. And behind-the-scenes pressure often forces even powerful people to remain quiet. And it is not just Musk. Many businesses, especially in tech, are staying silent too. Why? Because they do not want to draw Trump's wrath. Tech is the sector that depends most on H1Bs. Big or small, tech firms rely on hiring highly trained foreign talent that just isn't available locally. But right now, they are keeping their heads down, waiting to see how things play out. If the issue doesn't get resolved, companies may be left with no choice but to prioritize American labor over foreign hires or quietly look for loopholes. The H1B registration window for the fiscal year 2027 is expected to open in March. The new one-time $100,000 petition fee will be in effect then. As clarified by the White House, this fee applies only to new petitions filed after the order takes effect. If someone already has a valid visa, or if their petition was approved earlier, they do not have to worry. Their status remains safe. The White House had to step in and clarify this because at first there was a lot of panic in the legal and tech communities. Some companies were even issuing urgent written notices to workers abroad. But it is clear now that for renewals and existing visa holders, nothing changes. Also, the fee is not annual, it is one-time charge. That too brings some relief. But it cannot be denied that sudden policy changes like these create massive disruptions. Businesses do not get enough time to adjust. Professionals are left scrambling. Imagine planning your career and then overnight the rules change. Critics argue that such policies should be introduced gradually, in phases, to protect business continuity and innovation ecosystems. The Trump administration, however, defends the move. Their reasoning is simple. They want to stop the system from being flooded with what they see as lower cost foreign labor. In other words, they are saying if a company really values a foreign worker, it should be willing to pay the price. So now, every US company has a tough decision to make. Is a foreign worker valuable enough to justify $100,000? For the brightest minds, maybe yes. For the rest, companies may shift to hiring Americans or outsourcing jobs elsewhere. India, of course, is watching closely. The Indian government has reminded the US about the importance of skilled mobility and about the intent of strengthening US-India innovation and economic collaboration. After all, Indians make up the majority of H1B beneficiaries, especially in tech sectors that are critical to both economies. So New Delhi hopes Washington considers the bigger picture before enforcing rigid barriers like these. Interestingly, Prime Minister Modi in his national address emphasized self-reliance or Atmanirbhar Bharat, the push for Swadeshi. He urged Indians to prioritize made-in-India products. Now he didn't directly mention H1B visas, Trump or tariffs, but many saw it as a subtle, indirect response to recent US moves like the visa fee hike and tariffs on Indian goods. India does not want to openly criticize the US just yet because it still values the partnership. Instead, it is taking a strategic wait-and-see approach. But let us think long-term. If this $100,000 fee survives legal challenges in US courts, the consequences could be big. Skilled workers, especially in tech and AI, may start looking elsewhere. Countries like Canada, Australia, India, and China could attract this talent instead. That would weaken US innovation while boosting tech ecosystems in other parts of the world. And this is already part of a larger trend. More and more countries are trying to reduce their dependence on the US. Erratic policies and sudden shifts are making America seem like an unreliable partner. So as it stands, we just have to wait and watch. Will the US courts uphold the executive order? Will companies adapt? Or will global talent flow elsewhere? One thing is clear. What happens next will shape not just immigration policy, but also the global tech race in the years ahead.